Welcome to 217 Kolak YT. Inside a restaurant, and we see Jinho, who, with a serious expression on his face, was telling Jinwoo that he has made up his mind and will propose to his sister for sure this time. Hearing that, Jinwoo was confused and started to wonder how he was supposed to respond to this. As he was still thinking, Jinho brings out an expensive diamond ring from his pocket and shows it to Jinwoo, asking if he thinks that she was going to like this. Looking at it, Jinwoo tells him he wasn't sure himself, as he wasn't very good with this sort of thing. Hearing him say that, Jinho tells him it was fine because he didn't know what she was going to like, so he prepared a lot of presents in advance. He tells him that there was a new building about to be constructed on the company ground, so as soon as Jana is done with her medical degree, he will build a hospital on that land for her. Hearing him say that, Jinwoo asks if, by any chance, the estimated cost for this building was around 30 billion won. Hearing him say that, Jinho was surprised and asks how he knew about that. Seeing his expressions, Jinwoo remembered his conversation with Chief On from the White Tigers Guild in the previous timeline and how he told him about the 30 billion won building that was given to him by Jinho. Remembering that, he wondered how he was supposed to answer him and marveled at how strangely the universe worked, so he tells him that there was no need for him to give her lots of presents to prove his feelings to her and tells him he was a good man. So all he has to do is be himself. Hearing that, Jinho got emotional and asks if he can hug him just this one time. Seeing him acting this way, Jinwoo tells him not to do anything like that, but Jinho, not able to contain his emotions, leaps towards Jinwoo to give him a hug. The story fast forwards, and we see Jinwoo entering his house. As he enters, he announces that he was back, and as he turns towards his family, he sees his newborn son along with Hunter Cha, who is now his wife. Looking at both of them, Jinwoo shows surprise that both of them were still up at this time, and hears Cha saying that they were waiting for him to return. She asks why he went for a drink when he can't even get drunk, to which Jinwoo informs her he went to meet with Jinho, who called him to the restaurant saying that he had something important to say, so he met up with him for a bit. Hearing that, Cha asks if he finally made up his mind and hears Jinwoo saying that they will just have to wait and see if he can gather up the courage to propose to Jana. He comments that Suho was still lively even at this time and hears Cha saying that it was because he took a lot of naps during the day. As she was telling him that, Jinwoo notices that his shadows were acting weird for some reason and asks what was up with those two. He hears both of them arguing about Suho, where Bellion was saying that he must teach the young master the ways of the sword and asks Igris if he thinks that his suggestion makes any sense whatsoever. To which Igris tells him high academic success is the barometer of one's capability in this world. Seeing both of them arguing, Jinwoo tells them he doesn't mind either of those things, but how about they worry about that after the boy learns how to walk? Hearing him say that, Cha with a hint of sarcasm says then how about you come home early until the boy learns how to walk? That way, you can actually see it happen. The story fast forwards to the next day at the police station, and we see Jinwoo entering the chief's office, asking if he called for him. He hears the man saying that he heard he was still interfering in other investigators' cases and instructs him not to go overboard and make other investigators resent him, and calls him Hunter Jinwoo. In front of him was Chief Woo Jinchul, and hearing him say that, Jinwoo reminds him he wasn't a hunter anymore. He hears Woo saying that even still, it's a lot more convenient for him to refer to him as a hunter. He tells Jinwoo that he called him to his office to inform him about the recent case that he took and tells him that the legal guardian of the suicide victim suddenly went missing a few days ago. Hearing him say that, Jinwoo tells him he doesn't know much about that. Chief Woo tells him that coincidentally, every CCTV camera around the missing man's residence stopped working at the same time. He hears Jinwoo saying that it was a weird coincidence. Seeing him saying that he didn't know about that incident, Woo tells him whatever he decided to do with him, he still believes in him and passes him a card, saying that this wasn't the reason that he called him here. Looking at it, Jinwoo asks what this was, and he hears Woo saying that he thought he would like to know about this and tells him that it was about the association chairman Go Gunhee. With that, he gets emotional and tells Jinwoo that the chairman was in critical condition. The story shifts to the hospital, and we see the chairman lying on his bed. After some time, Jinwoo arrives to see him in the room and finds him in a very weak condition. Sensing his presence, the chairman opens his eyes to see who it was, and seeing that Jinwoo had come to see him, he points at the oxygen mask on his face. Seeing this, Jinwoo removes the mask and hears his weak voice saying that it was good to see him. He tells Jinwoo that he came back again, Chairman tells Jinwoo that he had been searching for him for a long time. Seeing his condition, Jinwoo brings out a potion bottle, saying that if he wants this illness to be cured, he needs to take this. But here's the chairman saying that he has lived for a long time and finished what he had to do with the 10 years he gave him. He tells Jinwoo that he has a request for him. He reminds Jinwoo that back then, he told him that there was a world where they fought side by side. Saying that, he starts to sit up while asking Jinwoo if he could show that world to him. He tells Jinwoo to show him those times, as he wants to know as well what both of them looked like back then. Hearing his request, Jinwoo tells him that those might not be the memories he'd like to recall and hears the chairman saying that it was fine, as he simply wants to regain the memories that he has lost. Hearing that, Jinwoo thinks for a bit, and looking at his weak face, he decides to fulfill his wish and slowly starts to reach for his hand. As soon as he grabs onto his wrist, the chairman's eyes start to glow. With that, all of his memories from the previous timeline start to rush back to him, how he met Jinwoo for the first time, the Jeju Island raid, and how he told him about an island where an S-rank gate broke and was inhabited by insect monsters who, after mutating, gained the ability to fly. As all of those memories start to rush to his mind, the chairman's hand starts to shake. He remembers how Jinwoo saved all of their S-rank hunters from the insect monsters on that island. He remembered that after that incident, Jinwoo became a hero worldwide and was sought after by many top guilds from around the world. But despite all that, he decided to remain in Korea because he requested him to do so. He recalls confronting the chairman of the Japanese Hunters Association, Matsumoto Shigeo, but deciding not to reveal his schemes to the public, as that would have put the entirety of Asia into crisis. Remembering that, he clenched his chest as he recalled how, in that timeline, he was the greatest fragment of brilliant light and faced off against the Monarch of Frost, but was ultimately defeated by his hands. In his final moments, he told Jinwoo to please continue to stay by the side of humanity. Remembering everything, his eyes started to fill up with tears, and he tries to reach out for Jinwoo as he finally remembers how Jinwoo sacrificed everything to save humanity from the threat of the monarchs. Remembering that, he holds Jinwoo's hand and thanks him for showing everything to him. In his final moments, he tells Jinwoo that he was thankful to know that he, along with young heroes like him, fought to defend humanity from those monsters. As he lays there, he feels the warm sunlight on his skin once more and tells Jinwoo that even if he may end up as a cold corpse, this glory that resides within his memories will eternally remain. With that, he closes his eyes. The warmth of the setting sun bathes his face in a gentle glow. Seeing how he managed to make him so happy in his final moments, Jinwoo feels a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. With that, he says his farewell to the man who gave it his all for humankind, and tells him that he too was a hero who sacrificed so much of himself for the sake of everyone, and pays his respects to the chairman of the Hunters Association for the last time. The story fast forwards, and we see Jinwoo walking back from the hospital. As he was doing that, he hears his phone ringing. Upon answering, he hears Cha's concerned voice. She was trying to tell him something about his son. Hearing that, Jinwoo got worried and asks what was going on and hears her saying that their son was flying around the house right now. We see Cha trying to get him down while Suho, using ruler authority, was destroying their kitchen. In the back were Bellion and Igris, who were cheering for him, saying that he managed to unlock such a powerful ability. Meanwhile, Jinwoo still had no idea what she was saying and asks what she was talking about. He hears her shouting, saying that Suho was flying around the house right now. Hearing that, he remembers Jinho's words, how he told him that when he heard he was about to become a father, he thought that a kid from him and his wife would start running around the moment he was born. As he was remembering his words, he hears Cha asking what she should do. Jinwoo tells her not to worry about it, saying that he will teach Suho how to fly properly step by step. Hearing him say that, Cha was surprised and asks if he knows how to fly as well, and Jinwoo wonders if he never told her that. The story shifts back to the hospital, and we see the doctors who were giving the wife of the chairman the sad news. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was hearing Cha panicking while thinking of the chairman's words, that once autumn comes, winter would follow, then spring would greet the world. Everything had a beginning and an end, and a new beginning would follow after the end. With that, he starts to head out, telling Cha that he will be back home early today. Meanwhile, Igris and Bellion were arguing as usual about Suho, as Bellion was telling him that their young master must train for aerial combat now that he's able to fly. but Igris tells him that this is proof that he will become a pilot in the future. Meanwhile, Cha was busy cleaning up all the mess that Suho had made while hoping that Jinwoo would come home soon. The story shifts back to the past, to Jeju Island, and we see an entity looking at the ants fighting and cannibalizing each other. Seeing this, the entity says that there was no food left and the children are devouring each other. It was the queen of the insects who was saying that this won't do. Looking at a special egg, it thinks that the denizens of this kingdom need the strongest soldiers to lead them, and tells the egg that for the kingdom, it must make all the enemies who cross them tremble in fear. With that, the story shifts to the time Baru was coming back to the cave after taking out all the Japanese S-rank hunters and was saying that there are no kings on the outside. Standing in front of the humans inside the cave, he asks if there are any more here who call themselves the king. At that time, he saw Jinwoo, who showed surprise, seeing that he was able to talk. Remembering that day, he started to think that this was the first time he had met with someone who wasn't afraid of him. Sensing his mana, Jinwoo started to smirk, saying that now he was acting more like an insect. Remembering that day, Baru thinks that it has been a while since that time that he met a human who wasn't afraid of his appearance. Seeing Suho looking at him like that, Baru felt a little annoyed and started to walk away. But as he was doing that, he heard Suho's voice calling out to him from the back. Ignoring him, he started to fly away while Suho chased after him. Seeing that he managed to chase him down, Baru started to wonder why the young monarch was always seeking him. He hears Igris telling him that, of course, the young monarch was interested in him. Baru still didn't understand what he was trying to say and hears him saying that he was an ant, which was much bigger than a human, who can walk, fly, and talk. So just what kind of child wouldn't like that? Hearing that, Baru understood that the reason he was following him around so much was because he was big, could talk, and could also fly. The story shifts to the Shadow Realm, and we see Marshal Baru arriving to see the dwarves. He was telling them that he wants to make a minor adjustment to the plan. Hearing that, the dwarfs started to panic a little, saying that the plans to create the holy statue of their liege were set several months ago so that he could commemorate the 32nd birthday of the monarch. Seeing him panicking, Baru assures him he wasn't trying to change the plans, just wanted him to simply make changes to them. After which, he started to explain everything to the dwarf. Hearing what he had in mind, the dwarf tells him they can definitely do that and comments that with this, they might get a much more exquisite outcome. As Baru started to leave, the dwarf asks Baru if they can mobilize the demons of the demon castle, as they will need more members now for the plan to finish on time. Hearing that, Baru tells him he can do as he pleases, as he needs to take care of some business elsewhere. The story shifts to Jinwoo's house. Outside, we see some suspicious men inside a car, and we see one of them asking if they were really going to be doing that. Their leader asks if he was getting scared after coming this far. He reminds them how, because of Jinwoo, their organization vanished into thin air and asks if they don't think it would be fair for them to leave their mark on him as payback. After that, they started to exit the car, and the boss reminds them of the plan, that they need to make it seem like the wife and son of that investigator were taken out by some burglars breaking into their home in the middle of the day. As they approached the house, they noticed that there was no security system in that big house and comment that at this point, they're begging to be robbed. With that, all of them jump into the house through the wall. As they enter, their leader noticed that only one of his men was following after him. So he asks what happened to the rest of them and fails to realize that there was a massive shadow appearing behind them. As he was wondering if the remaining members ran away after being scared, he failed to realize a massive claw that was coming straight toward him. Before he could even understand what was going on, his whole face got covered with that massive hand. It was Baru, who, seeing the man's terrified expression, tells him to stay silent and informs the man that the young monarch just began to nap and mustn't be disturbed by mere intruders. As the man trembled in fear, Baru started to think that this was a familiar gaze and emotions. He thinks that while having his liege's trust and being liked by the young monarch is certainly great, this isn't bad as well. The facial expression of prey in front of their predator is always like this. The story shifts to the Shadow Dungeon, and we see Essel and the Radairu clan helping the Shadows to complete the project. After they were done, the dwarf informs Baru that the project was finished and asks what he thinks about it. Baru tells him this was impressive and starts to cheer along with the remaining shadows. saying that their liege will definitely be pleased after seeing this majestic and beautiful statue. In the far future, if the young monarch can step foot in this place, it will certainly be a meaningful present. As he was saying that, he hears a child's sound from the back and freezes in place, wondering what was going on. All of them turned toward the source of the sound and saw Suho, who had somehow managed to enter the shadow dungeon all by himself. Seeing this, Baru gets shocked, wondering how this was even possible. The story fast-forwards a couple of years, and we see Cha, who had come to Suho's school to meet with his teacher, who was showing her some pictures, saying that Suho drew these. Looking at them, Cha asks what was wrong with the drawing and hears her saying that the classroom teacher of Suho had told him to draw a friend in his sketchbook, and he made this. Hearing that, Cha was surprised and notices that he made a drawing of an ant that was standing on its 2 feet. The teacher tells her that there are more drawings at the back that were drawn by Suho when asked if he had any other friends. The next one was Suho drawing his interpretation of family. After that, the teacher informs her that the last page is their home that Suho drew, and that's also the reason why she asked to meet her today. The teacher informs her that they have taken care of many kids so far, but this was their first time seeing a child expressing their friends and family like this, and says that when his teacher had asked why he had drawn the base of the house like that, Suho said that friends, family, and large dad were there. She tells Cha that at first, she suspected it to be abuse, but that didn't seem to be the case, seeing how bright Suho is, and informs her that Suho has a unique talent in art. The story shifts to the police station, and we see everyone congratulating Jinwoo on his promotion and saying that doesn't he think that he should buy them all around since he was promoted. After some time, he was seen getting to his desk, where his co-worker asked why he accepted the promotion this time, since he had been refusing it in the past, and here's Jinwoo saying that he ran out of excuses to refuse them. As they sit on their chairs, his co-worker asks Jinwoo if he doesn't have any desires like a high position or money. Hearing that, Jinwoo started to think if he would believe him if he told him that when he was far younger than him, he used to make money near the level of a large law firm, but decides not to say anything about that and tells him he will buy the rounds today. So he should quit it with the flattery. The story fast-forwards to Jinwoo's house, where he was looking at the drawings made by Suho and was amazed to see how talented he was as a 5-year-old. Seeing him so optimistic about this, Cha tells him that this wasn't a laughing matter and tells him to look at the last page. She informs him what Suho told her, that there's a large dad inside the dark underground, and asks if anything comes to mind when he hears that. But Jinwoo kept on laughing hearing everything. So Cha asks why he was laughing and hears Jinwoo saying that it was nothing. He just remembered something funny. Cha then tells Jinwoo that the other kids are apparently scared of Suho and says that even though he's never bullied them or shouted at them, they go pale just by seeing Suho approaching. Hearing that, Suho gets a little concerned about Suho's social life and thinks that since children have much purer senses than adults, they may have detected the power of the monarch, so they are avoiding him because they felt the shadow of death from him. He thinks that the power had come to him and didn't become a disaster as he managed to defeat the architect and take control of the system, and thinks that it's a horrible weapon hidden inside the most loyal subjects of the absolutes and has the ability to destroy everything that they have created. He feared that if the powers of the Shadow Monarch that were passed down to Suho unexpectedly grew larger inside him, he might end up losing control. Thinking over everything, he understood that Suho wouldn't be able to live an ordinary life this way. He tells Cha that he needed to restrain his powers until he reached an age where he could exert perfect control at the very least, so he could live among other people without any issues. He tells her that he will also seal away all his memories of the shadow soldiers along with his powers. After that, he turns toward Baru and hands him the drawings of him that Suho made. He looks at all of them, and seeing how much Suho cares for him, Baru gets emotional and asks Jinwoo if he can say his farewells to the young monarch. As he opens the door to his room, he finds Suho asleep. Seeing this, he quietly approaches him and tells Suho that he is here to bid him farewell on behalf of all the shadow soldiers. Meanwhile, Suho was dreaming about Baru and was calling out for him in his sleep. Seeing this, Baru gets even more emotional and tells him that it was an honor to serve him and says that until they meet again, he prays for his good health along with all the other shadow soldiers who say their farewell to Suho. After everyone was done, Jinwoo prepares to seal away his powers and places his hand on his forehead, and after he was done, all of them leave his room in silence. And Suho lays there unaware of everything that just happened. With that, time passes, and Suho goes about his days like a normal child, makes many new friends, and eventually grows up to be a fine young man. The story fast-forwards a couple of years, and we see Suho, who had grown into a teenager now and was getting ready for a new day at his school like a normal kid, unaware of the terrifying power that resides within him. The story shifts to the inside of the school, and we see all the students walking to their classes as it was their first day of high school. Inside one of the classes was a freshman named Lee Eun-cheol, who was catching up to some of his friends from middle school. As he was doing that, he sees a student by the name of Ju Sung-ho approaching him. Both of them share intense looks for a bit, after which Ju Sung shakes hands with Lee. Seeing this, Lee started to think that he has heard about this guy as he is said to be somewhat rowdy and thinks that it won't be bad to be friends with him. As they were doing that, Lee turns towards another student in his class, thinking that he can see how the hierarchy in this class would set up. But that guy seemed to be a problem. He was looking at Suho, and as he was staring at him, Suho notices him and, turning towards him, gives him a look of confusion. Seeing his expression, Lee gets pissed, thinking that he wasn't lowering his eyes, and asks his friends if they saw that arrogant look in his eyes. But before he could do anything, Ju Sung-ho stops him, saying that this kid went to the same school as him, so it would be best for him to mostly stay out of his way. Hearing that, Lee's eyes fill up with rage, and he asks Ju Sung if he has a death wish. The story fast-forwards to the outside of the school, and we see Ju Sung on the floor in pain after getting beaten up by Lee and his friends. Lee tells him that he had heard about him that he was really famous for being strong around here, but he wasn't as tough as he thought. He asks who that guy was and why he was trying to protect him. Ju Sung, in pain, says that Suho is the strongest guy from their middle school and that they weren't even able to lay a hand on him back then. So he stepped up for him because he thought something might go wrong here too. Hearing everything, Lee starts hitting him even more, asking if he was crazy and if he was trying to make a fool out of him. He scoffs, saying that if someone like that really existed, he would have known about him. As he was beating him up, they noticed another person approaching them. When they turned towards him, they saw that it was Suho. Suho tells Ju Sung that the beating he took should be enough to justify for what's about to happen to these guys as self-defense. Hearing that, Ju Sung tells him he understands. But Lee had no idea what both of them were talking about and asked Suho what he was trying to say. Before he could even finish his sentence, he saw one of his lackeys getting kicked in the stomach by Suho and sent flying into the distance, shocking the rest of them. Before any of them could react, the second lackey gets kicked in the face and gets knocked out. Seeing an opening, Lee throws a punch towards Suho, but Suho was too fast for him and notices it coming. Before the attack could connect, Suho prepares to block it with his leg and manages to kick it away. Seeing how easily Suho managed to stop his attack, Lee is stunned. Before he could even understand what was going on, Suho delivers a powerful kick under his chin and launches him into the air. Lee was out cold and lands next to his two lackeys. After he was done with the three of them, he turns towards Ju Sung, saying that since things turned out like this in this school too, he would have to take the blame for all this. Like always, the story fast-forwards, and we see two students talking about Ju Sung and how he beat up Lee and his lackeys. They say that they heard he was really famous in his neighborhood because he used to study judo from a young age. The story shifts to Suho, who was getting ready to head out of school while thinking that he was feeling bored. As he was about to exit the room, he wonders if he should head to the internet cafe since he's feeling bored today. But as he tries to open the door, he notices that the door was stuck. He wonders what was going on, so he looks out the class window to call for help. But he notices that everything was frozen in place. Seeing this, Suho is shocked and realizes that time has stopped. He wonders how something like this could be possible. All of a sudden, he notices a massive portal appearing in his class, emitting some kind of dark electricity. Seeing the portal, he starts to wonder what was going on and what he should do, and starts thinking about his father and what he would have done in this situation. After thinking for a bit, he starts approaching the portal and slowly passes through it. As he comes out the other side, his eyes widen in shock as he finds himself inside a completely different place. Looking around, he tries to understand what was happening to him and where he was. But as he looks back, he sees that the portal had already disappeared. Seeing this, he starts thinking that his escape route got cut off, and now there's nothing left for him but to keep going forward. As he looks ahead, he finds a long passage, and the walls of that passage were filled with many weapons. As he gets closer, he is shocked to see a notification appearing in front of him, showing the details of the weapon. Turning towards the other weapons, he sees their details as well and thinks that all this is just like a video game. As he walks past all the weapons, he wonders if something is telling him to pick a weapon, and if this is like a system where there's a level-based selection restriction. He thinks that maybe he can reach a higher rank if he raises his level. As he was walking, he notices some weapons that were set up in a corner, separate from the rest. Looking at them, he starts wondering if it's because these weapons suck. As he looks through them, he sees the Night Killer dagger that Jinwoo used in the past. Looking at it, he starts wondering who would use a weak-looking weapon like that. After which, he sees a pair of gauntlets that catch his attention. After going through the whole armory, he starts to think that this looks fun, but swords are too cliché, so he should pick something else. So he picks a pair of gauntlets, while thinking that things are getting interesting now. The story fast-forwards, and we see him walking about the dungeon, wondering if he is in some kind of basement of a castle. As he reaches the middle of the pathway, something unexpected starts happening. But Suho hadn't noticed yet that the knights all around him were coming to life. Without warning, one of the knights prepares to finish Suho off and swings at him. Just as the thing was about to slice him in two, Suho notices it, and in the nick of time, he manages to block it using his gauntlets. Although he saved his life, he was sweating in fear, wondering what just happened. But realizing that he can't waste any time, he gets his thoughts together and pushes the knight back with nothing but his brute force. As the thing gets stunned, he delivers a devastating punch to its stomach, and the thing shatters into pieces. As it falls to the ground, Suho sees a notification informing him that he has leveled up. But instead of getting happy, Suho starts panicking as a thought hits his head. He turns around, thinking about all the knights he saw on the way here. As he looks back, he sees an army slowly coming towards him from all sides. Seeing this, Suho gets terrified and starts thinking that it was just as he thought. He needs to fight against all of these creatures if he wants to escape from this place. Without wasting a breath, the knights start rushing toward him, and Suho starts brute forcing his way through all of them using the power of his gauntlets. As he takes out some of them, he sees notifications informing him that he has leveled up, but Suho is more concerned about the approaching knights and completely ignores the notifications. Seeing no other way out, he decides to face all of them head-on and leaps toward them to finish this fight as soon as possible, and manages to take most of them out. As he is done, the system informs him that he has reached level 19. Seeing the notification, Suho understands that this is all like a game. If he defeats these armor monsters, he levels up and gets stronger. Looking at the broken pieces of armor around him, he thought that he had a bit of a rough start, but now he could handle them even if they attacked him in groups. But these things were supposed to be at a higher level than him, and he wondered how he was able to defeat them at level 1. Looking at the aura emanating from his body, he wondered if it was because of this power and questioned what this power was that he was feeling. After some time, he arrived in front of a massive door. Looking at it, he thought he wanted to get a bit stronger. Thinking that, he started to open the door to the room, and as he set foot inside, he noticed a dark knight, aka Igris, sitting on a throne in front of him. Looking at the thing staring at him, Suho started to wonder if this was the boss monster, and sensing the mana from him, he realized that this thing was far stronger than anything he had faced so far. Seeing Suho, the boss monster started to stand up and reached for his sword, after which both of them locked eyes in a fierce stare down. Suho prepared to take on the thing while thinking that he needed to deal the first blow, but before he could even finish that thought, Igris was already next to his face. Before Suho could even process what was going on, Igris sliced him into pieces, and the shockwave created by his weapon completely destroyed that section of the room. The scene shifted, and we saw Suho waking up in another part of the dungeon. Sitting up, he looked around, wondering what was going on. He checked his body and wondered how he was still alive, and notices that he was back at the starting point. As he stood up, he started to think if he had to cross this corridor and face off against all those knights all over again. As he was doing that, he noticed that one of the flames went out and wondered if this could be a coincidence. But ignoring that, he decided to change his weapon first since he had leveled up and chose as a stronger gauntlet. After that, he thought that he should be more cautious, as he didn't know what would happen if all three flames went out. Fast forward. He woke up at the starting point once more after he was defeated by the enemy's hand. He turned towards the lanterns and noticed that another one was extinguished. Seeing this, he started to panic, wondering what he should do, and remembered Igris, thinking that the Black Knight was just too powerful for him right now. At this rate, he would never defeat him. As he was in his thoughts, he spotted a weapon on the wall and realized that it was the same as the knight was using. Seeing the rank required to wield it, he started to panic, wondering how much of a level gap that thing had on him. After some time, he was seen stacked with weapons, thinking that he needed to be extra cautious this time. Eventually, he arrived at the location and saw knights blocking his path. Seeing them all preparing to face him, Suho asked them if they weren't sick and tired of this already. But before he faced the creatures, he thought that these guys were constantly reviving somehow. He started to smirk, realizing that if that was the case, then that meant they would spawn infinitely. With that, he started to gradually make his way through all of them, leveling up in the process. As he was taking care of a tanky enemy, he noticed something. He saw a soldier with a bow and arrow who was about to strike him down. But before the thing could even think of doing anything, Suho appeared next to it and delivered a devastating attack, launching the thing into the distance. As he did that, notifications started to appear, informing him that he had leveled up. Suho saw a new notification telling him he had reached the required level, along with a second notification asking if he would like to accept the advancement quest. Suho accepted, and portals appeared around him with a notification informing him that the longer he endured, the more points he would be able to gather in order to advance to a higher class. As the knights started to appear from the portals, a timer appeared, and the system wished Suho good luck. Seeing this, Suho smirked, saying that he originally thought this was going to be a troublesome fight without the timer, but this turned out to be great. Fast forward. We saw a mage-type magic beast charging up a fireball. As it finished charging, it launched the attack with all its might, and that section of the room gets engulfed in a massive explosion. But Suho managed to leap away before he got caught in it. By that time, Suho was getting tired, as there was no end to these monsters. No matter how many he took out, more kept coming. As he was thinking of a way to deal with all of them, he noticed mages chanting some incantations. As soon as they were done, Suho saw a massive ball of fire over his head. Looking at the size of the thing, Suho got scared, as there was no way he would be able to dodge something like that. Realizing this, he lifted his shield to block the fire and somehow managed to hold out against the attack, but he was slowly reaching his limit. As he turned towards the mages, he noticed that they were conjuring up another spell. As they were done, Suho's expression tensed as he saw a massive golem standing in front of him. Looking at the thing, Suho sighed in frustration and threw away his shield, thinking that he didn't need this sort of thing anymore. Like a flash of light, he rushed towards the thing and started to bombard it with a flurry of attacks, managing to shatter it into pieces using nothing but his brute strength. Seeing the situation, he reached towards the massive sword on his back, thinking he didn't need this thing either, and threw it towards the magic beasts, managing to slice through all of them. The sword landed on a wall as we saw the pile of broken armor scattered around the room. After that, Suho brought out a bow and arrow, infused it with his mana, and launched the projectile towards the remaining monsters, piercing through everything in its path. After which, he landed behind a knight that was distracted by everything. Seeing the opportunity, Suho reached towards the two daggers on his back and sliced the thing's helmet into pieces. Without wasting a breath, he turned towards the other enemies and threw the daggers towards them, managing to take them out as well. After he had used up all the weapons, Suho started to smile, saying that he didn't need any weapons as men ought to fight with their fists. The story fast-forwarded, and we saw the room filled with broken armor scattered all around the place. In a corner stood Suho, who had managed to single-handedly take out an army of magic beasts. Notifications informed him that he could advance to a higher class due to the accumulated advancement points he had acquired, followed by another notification that a suitable class would be assigned to him based on his achievements. As Suho stood there radiating with aura, the system informed him that his fighting spirit had overcome all adversities, and he was not afraid of any tribulations. He carried onward, believing in his strength. So the system chose fighter to be his class. After he was given a class, the system told Suho that he had an opportunity to advance to a higher class in accordance with the advancement points he had acquired. And it starts to calculate Suho's points and informs him that he has surpassed the expected playtime, so additional points have been given. His remaining health was over 50%, so he got additional points from that as well. Finally, he has defeated all the enemies, because of which he has gained additional points. After calculating his points, the system tells Suho that his sum total of advancement points has exceeded the achievement limits, so he was advanced from fighter into soul striker. Seeing everything and sensing his newfound power, Suho starts to think that this was still not enough. In order to defeat that boss, he needs to be much stronger than he currently is. As he was in his thoughts, he sees the knights coming back to life with a notification informing him that additional enemies will spawn on the field if he continues to stay in the same location. After which, the story fast-forwards a couple of hours, and we see Suho, who, after defeating countless more enemies, had acquired many more artifacts to boost his strength. He acquired an A-grade necklace of the Watchman, an A-grade superior ring of the Mage, and the final item was an S-class scorching gauntlets of the Fighting Phantom. With his newfound power, he arrives back at the boss room to confront Igris, who was still sitting on his throne while waiting for Suho's arrival. But this time, things were different. As he looked at him, he saw that Suho had grown much more powerful compared to before. Upon entering, he asks Igris if he kept him waiting, and standing in front of him, he tells Igris that this time, it was his turn. We see that after taking out all those enemies outside, Suho had reached level 70. Seeing this, Igris prepares for their final battle, and without wasting any time, he launches a powerful wave of electricity towards Suho, shocking him, as he wasn't expecting an attack so suddenly. But thinking quickly, he manages to get out of the way at the final moment and sees Igris, who had closed in the distance. Seeing this opportunity, Suho lands a powerful attack on him, but Igris manages to block it using his sword. However, the shockwaves formed by the attack shatter everything around them, followed by a massive explosion that engulfs both Suho and Igris. But both of them survive and came out of the fire unscathed. Igris starts swinging his sword rapidly at Suho, trying to land an attack, but Suho manages to evade all his attacks and prepares to counterattack. However, he was unable to get in close enough to land a solid hit on Igris. Seeing the situation, Suho starts to think that even this wasn't enough to take on this opponent. He realizes that he needs to go even faster if he wants to deal any damage. As he was still thinking of a way, Igris sees an opening and manages to land a powerful attack on him. Suho blocks it using his gauntlets, but the force behind the attack sends him flying through the air. As he crashes into a pillar, he instantly jumps back and sees Igris on the ground, running towards him. Seeing this as a good opportunity to attack, Suho charges up his punch and delivers a devastating blow on Igris. At the final second, Igris manages to block it, but sensing the power behind his attack, he gets impressed, thinking that this is the power of the young monarch. However, it was still not enough to take on a shadow soldier who fought against the monarchs and their armies alongside Suho. Igris gets serious and manages to push Suho back, thinking that Suho hasn't reached his full potential yet. As Suho recovers, he starts to think that he can definitely tell now that he is able to hold his own against this knight after leveling up, but this Black Knight is far stronger than he imagined. His stats are on a completely different level compared to the ordinary soldiers that spawned infinitely. In other words, Igris is extraordinary. Thinking that, Suho says that if that's the case, then the same can be said about him. Remembering his time in this dungeon, he thinks that he may not know what the rules of the game are, but he was given extra stats from the start when he was level 1, and he was able to defeat high-level soldiers without breaking a sweat. If he recalls how all of his stats went up by 1 every time he leveled up, then his base stats with the additional stats applied aren't at level 70, but rather equivalent to level 110. As he drives Igris through a wall, a notification pops up in front of him, informing him that he got a new title called Young Monarch, because of which all his stats have increased by 40 points by the ability inheritance of the Shadow Monarch. Chapter end here. For more, like and subscribe.